Hey guys, welcome to the Real Results Show, where we feature real health coaches and health practitioners getting real health results for their clients and themselves. I'm your host, Brendan Vermeyer. I'm a clinical advisor for FDN, and I'm the director of our tribe's awesome association, where I get to help support our community with ongoing education regarding all sorts of different cool clinical and business building topics. So this week, I'm super stoked to have Piper Gibson on our show. Piper completed the course back in 2017 and has been successfully practicing FDN ever since. So welcome to the show, Piper.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to chit chat today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to have you and get to share, our amazing real results with the world. So I'd love to kind of kickstart everything and hear what prompted you to become an FDN in the first place.
Well, so it's kind of a personal story. My son was diagnosed with a neurological tic 7 years ago, and that's very much like Tourette syndrome. So one day he was fine, and the next day he was twitching and ticking, and we were really freaked out. It was really scary. And so we started going to doctor after doctor after doctor, and most of them were like, you know what, he'll grow out of it. But it was getting progressive that he couldn't function in school. He couldn't concentrate. He couldn't think. He was just having major rages. It was really, really stressful. And so I started looking for natural ways and doing all my own research and figuring out all my own things to help him out. And I had a friend of mine say, hey, I'm working with these people. They're called functional diagnostic nutrition practitioners. You should check them out. So I checked it out, and I watched a couple of videos from Reed. I read all the information. You know what? This is for me. This is what I have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, very cool. It's, and that's always the common theme. I've gotten to mentor and advise a lot of FDNs, and we all have that in common. We were all the people that were really trying to get to the root of like, what's the problem here? Because, when you have doctor after doctor saying, well, everything looks normal, or we can't find anything, or maybe it's this, or let's try this experimental procedure. And it's like, well, but are we actually looking for the root causes of the problem rather than just looking for a problem? So that's awesome. So I'd love to hear a little bit about, what your experience was like going through the course, and, how that has obviously led to where you're at today.
Right. So my experience was amazing. I learned so much, so many things that, I knew a lot because I had studied so much of my own, so many things that I didn't know, from hormones and digestive system, gut health, and all of these things that were really looking at the whole body. And in our experience, that wasn't happening. Nobody was looking at the whole body. What is being eaten? What kind of supplements, what kind of nutrients are you missing? Your lifestyle, like, how are you sleeping? And so none of these things were looked at. So going through the course really was an amazing stepping stone to learn all of these different things and all of these different ways of helping people get back on the healing path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And had you done any other nutrition, health-related courses before FDN, or?
Holistic nutrition. I'm certified in holistic nutrition as well. So, I had a really good background in nutrition and the science behind it, but it's not until you can really apply the DRESS protocol: diet, rest, exercise reduction, and supplementation. Look at the whole body, really provide the lab testing, because if you're not testing and you're just guessing, then you really leave a lot of information off the table, and a lot of that information is really valuable.
Absolutely. And, that's kind of that really is the major thing that sets us apart is, we are holistic minded professionals, and there's a lot more of those out there these days. But ultimately, what's the difference between a generic health coaching advice service versus a true clinical investigation that helps people overcome some of their greatest health challenges? So that objective data that we use with the lab testing really is the big thing that sets us apart. And, I even in my experience find that FDN practitioners are just really amazing true health detectives that are identifying, metabolic disturbances that even a lot of naturopaths don't seem to always be in tune with. So I really do feel our community is very special with this type of training that sets us apart. So I'd love to hear more about your experience with, using the lab testing model on yourself or any of your clients or your son, and kind of what that experience was like?
Well, for me, it was really very interesting because, I was really focused on him and working on him. And I went through the course. And of course, I have to do the testing on myself.
Hmm.
And I went ahead and did the hormones. I went and did the metabolic assessment. And then, of course, you just have to do the stool testing. You get so
Yeah.
curious. You have to know what is going on. So I did all the testing and I met with my mentor. And, I really realized that for myself, things that I had been experiencing my whole entire life, like vertigo and anxiety and, periods of exhaustion and fatigue and aching joints, that when I started looking at myself, I had a lot of stuff going on. I had a lot of metabolic chaos going on. So once I did the testing and made myself my own protocol, I found out a lot of information about my health that has completely changed my own life because I don't have anxiety anymore. And
Hmm.
I don't have this chronic fatigue or these achy joints because I learned how to listen to my body.
Hmm. Yeah, that brings up a really good point too, because, ultimately that's really the goal, is to become so in tune and so knowledgeable about our own physical temple and how it works and all of its intricacies, that we can, eventually kind of learn how to ride that bike without training wheels. But I feel like the lab testing really kind of gives us that training wheels of like, oh, too much of this and it causes this, and oh, a little bit too far this way, and you catch that. But yeah, you work through enough protocols, and over time you start learning how to become more in tune with that biofeedback and what your body is trying to tell you. But certainly having that lab test, it validates all of it, because I think we're all intuitively like, well, I kind of feel like this is going
Right.
on. But yeah, that objective data, it's smack right in the face. It gives us that tangible, objective way to track, to really see, are we moving in the right direction? So yeah, I think that's fantastic. Now, I'm guessing, you have your business model, and do you work virtually? Or tell us about your experience in building your business as a FDN practitioner.
Sure. So when I first started out, I was gung ho. I am going to just work virtually. But
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of people locally. I live in small town New Mexico. I had a lot of people locally who are like, we'd really like to see you in person. And I'm like, well, you're not coming over to my house because it's a mess.
Yeah.
Um, but I had a friend, massage therapist, who said, hey, you should, check out this office. So I do have a very small office where I see clients locally as well. So I do a little of both the local and the virtual. And it just works really well for me because
Yeah.
it gets to be my schedule when I want to do it and how I want to practice.
Yeah, exactly. That's the beautiful thing. And I think that's pretty cool too with our community. Like, we really do, the whole goal is to, produce successful FDNs that are successfully practicing FDN. If we're not successfully practicing FDN, we're not helping people, and we're not, combating chronic disease and saving the world. But that's the beautiful thing, is we have the privilege to, to help people obtain a quality of life they've only ever dreamt of. Meanwhile, I make my own schedule. I work from home. It's kind of the best, isn't it?
It's so true. It is absolutely so true. And what you say about clients having the health and wellness and feeling better than they've ever felt is, they have only dreamed of it, but FDN can really get them there. It is really the next level. It's just so different from anything people have experienced before.
Yeah, it really truly is. I was actually, going back to school. I was like, dietetics, naturopathic medical school. But I can tell you, like, in the whole functional industry, nobody's teaching, what we're teaching. Nobody has a curriculum like ours. I mean, there's a lot of naturopaths and, some medical doctors, a lot of dietitians come through our program. I was actually just talking to a dietitian on Instagram who was asking me about the FDN course. And it's like, yes, all of that background education that somebody might bring, it's going to be helpful. The more that you know the human body and holistic health and biochemistry, physiology, the better off you're going to be. But you've never seen it all put together in a system like this. Would you agree?
I totally agree. And, I've been doing this for a while now. And so in my experience, it's really amazing when a doctor defers to you and says, you know what, you should really explore this. And, they'll call me and ask me questions because they haven't had the training that I have had, that we have had as FDNs. And it's really an exceptional training, and you're not going to get anything like it anywhere else.
Yeah, so true. And that's the beautiful thing is when, because of the high level education and the real results that we deliver, you do build that reputation in your community, and you can do stuff like that of have a healthy, successful, fruitful working relationship with medical doctor, chiropractor, because we all know it takes an army. And most people, they're struggling with a multitude of things that might need, there's a time and a place for conventional healthcare. There's a time and a place for chiropractic. But FDN is that new professional that there's just not enough people doing what FDNs are doing. So we're really filling that gap.
Really are. I really agree with that.
Yeah. Very cool. So, the FDN thing, another beautiful thing I always like to point out, and I want to ask you your experience about it, is the community, because we're not just an educational body. We don't just, teach you stuff, say high five, see you never. We're a community. So I'd love to hear, what's your experience been like interacting with the community, being a part of the community? Tell us about that.
I would say that FDN has one of the most amazing communities I've ever been a part of. You can ask a question and you will have 15 people come to you with an answer. And so it gives you a really wide range, a broad view of, how other people are practicing, what they're applying in their practice. And people are always willing to help. I love that there's so many opportunities for continuing education. All of the people that you have on Health Detective and all of the AFDNP training. One of the greatest things I think about FDN is that we have this medical director program, but you can also schedule a meeting with the clinical directors to go over these results. And it's an amazing learning experience. You learn so much. And I tell people that are going through the course, always, always, always schedule those appointments, because you are going to learn so much valuable information from those clinical meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you point all that out, because, that's the beautiful thing is when you're working with an FDN practitioner, you're not just working with that professional is backed up by a huge community of a lot of very passionate learn freaks. And we all bring, that's what I love about, just the whole community is we all share education with one another, and we all bring something different to the table. And I have not seen any other community within the industry that it just is anything like us. I really haven't. And I remember at the conference in San Diego last year, I was talking to Dr. Jones, and she was saying like, I go to a lot of conferences, and I've never been to a conference with this much like enthusiastic energy. And at the time, I was just like, well, I'm going to have to take your word for that. But I've been to probably 6 different conferences so far this year, and nothing has been like the FDN conference, and I think that really speaks volumes to the type of empathetic go-getters and healers that we really attract. So have you probably made a number of friends through the FDN community? I would hope.
I have. And there's certain people, you kind of get a niche for your business. And so I work a lot with kids and children and families. And so I've met other FDNs who specialize in that. And so, we'll email each other on the side, ask questions, and how does this work? And how are you doing this? And so, I've made a lot of friends. I've made a lot of great contacts. Like, I think FDN just really has an amazing support, educational community all around.
Absolutely. When I wanted to ask you that, you mentioned that too. I was going to ask you about kind of what your ideal client is or demographic. Would you say kids, or tell us a little bit about that?
So I really feel I work with kids and families. Most kids that I work with are kids that have spectrum disorders, ADD, ADHD, tics, because that is really kind of my passion, helping my son. But I also work with their family, because I really feel like you can't change little Johnny's diet and lifestyle and not change the whole family's lifestyle. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's not fair if little Johnny's eating a cup of broccoli and everyone else having a burger and fries.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you change the whole family's dynamic, you change everything about what's going on in the family, you see big change. And it's a really huge improvement for these kids who are suffering from so many of these different symptoms and diagnoses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And certainly it might kind of change the way that you present your services, because you're so right. Especially like, I think we probably all work with a lot of moms, just because I would say, the 30, 40-year-old female mom demographic tends to be more health conscious and more interested to seek out. Anyways, but yeah, it's like, that's the cool thing is, you help the mom or whatever, and then that's going to have that positive downstream impact on their kids or their family. I just started working with one of my clients' daughters, or, the client experienced so much benefit that she's like, well, can we run some of this testing on my daughter? Because I really think she's got, and it's like, yeah, like, let's work on the whole family. That's going to be the best way. So awesome. With your demographic and kids and all that, so I'm guessing you've had a lot of success with kids, and you would say like, yeah, FDN's for everybody. It's not just for adults, but kids too. Huh?
Yeah, and it works for everybody. And I really think the other cool part about the program is that the way that it's taught is that once you graduate, you can really find your niche. You can really focus on the group or people, individuals that you want to work with, and you can apply what you learn in FDN to, I do see people other stages and ages as well, but my focus is kids. But you see that you can apply this for kids, but you also apply it for middle-aged mom or dad.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It really works for everybody.
Exactly. Scalable model, and with the holistic nature of it, yeah, we're going to be able to positively impact every cell, tissue, organ, in your body, because we're kind of working on, and, that's something, or we mentioned metabolic chaos earlier, and I think it's helpful for people to kind of understand what is that we're doing. And it's almost like we're, metabolic mechanics, right? Where we're using a holistic lifestyle approach based on objective lab data, to kind of like lift up the hood and dig around, turn some wrenches and fix those metabolic systems. Whereas, we kind of live in a society that's very hyper focused on, well, let's find a specific diagnosis, so then we have a specific medication protocol to apply.
Right.
And it's like we totally overlook the toxic lifestyle that we're all living and is accumulating into what we call that metabolic chaos, where no, you don't have, hypothyroidism. You have a lot of bad juju going on in all of your systems. And so to kind of almost like back up a little bit, tell us about, some of the key areas, like you mentioned gut and kind of hormones and stuff. What are some of the key areas that you find over and over to be, these common dysfunctional systems that people need help with?
Well, currently, especially with kids, I find a lot of dysfunction in the gut. There's, a lot of leaky gut issues going on. There's a lot of food sensitivity issues going on. So when you can get rid of those things that are causing sensitivities, be it gluten or dairy or whatever it is, you start to see a reduction in inflammation, which helps these kids to really change their behavior and have these things going on. But you also see just a really unhealthy lifestyle from the whole family. They're eating the processed foods, they're eating Taco Bell, they're not really focusing on how to get the best nutrients for the family. And so I do see a lot of gut issues. I see a lot of food issues. With my older clients, I see a lot of thyroid issues, which has a lot to do with everything in the body at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Well, very cool. So, I think hopefully there's probably quite a number of different health coaches or health related professionals that might be watching this series. So do you have any piece of advice that you would share with a professional watching that's kind of interested in this stuff?
Absolutely. So my piece of advice is that FDN is the next level. If you have not taken the FDN, if you've not learned all the things that FDN has to offer, I recommend you jump in, you do it. It is the most amazing course. It's so beneficial. It's the next level. Like, you might learn a few things in holistic nutrition like I did, but really the next level was being able to use that lab testing and learn all the things that I've learned from my FDN community. And so just do it. Just take the leap and join the FDN course for sure.
Very cool. So what about if somebody's watching right now that's really struggling with their health? What would you recommend to them?
I would highly recommend that you find a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. They are going to be your health detective. You don't drive around in your car with your Chek engine light on. You go to the mechanic, they look under the hood, going to check everything out, and then fix up your car so it's running again. It's that same thing with FDN. We are like a metabolic mechanic. We're going to look under the hood. We're going to help find the root cause, and we're going to get you back on the healing path.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, I always I actually have this welcome letter that I, give to my new clients as kind of a set the tone, right? But I kind of go on like a mini soapbox talking about how, the goal is to put your health where it belongs, which is back under your control and in your hands. And something I kind of feel strongly about, I really don't believe nobody can heal us for us. We have to heal ourselves. And what I love about the FDN model is we're really educating, which for the record, and I said this in the last show with Jen, but the word doctor comes from the Latin word doctor, which means to teach, and I don't feel like our healthcare system is based around teaching or educating on health. And that's something I like to point out. Like, that is truly, at the end of the day, what we're doing is we are using objective data that is individualized to this client, not the next person, but this one. And we are teaching them how they can take their health back into their own hands. And it's like,
exactly,
what's more empowering or better than that, So yeah, that's cool stuff, huh?
Absolutely. I love it.
I love it too. Well, awesome. So I'm super excited that you joined us for the show. You're going to be at PaleoFX with me down in Texas this weekend. Yay! So we can hang out live. But thank you so much for joining me on the show today and sharing your experience.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was fun, and I hope everyone gained some valuable info.
Absolutely. So where can people learn more about you if they want to get in touch with you?
Sure. So I have a website. It's called www.regenerating.health. So not com, it's .health. Regenerating Health. You can find me on Facebook at Regenerating Health. You can find me on Instagram at Regenerating Health. I love to connect with everybody. So, shoot me a message if you have questions or interested in working with me. Absolutely, let me know, and we'll chit chat.
Fantastic. Awesome. And for those of you that are ready to become a true health detective and join the ranks of the FDN practitioners, keep in mind you can get more information. You can schedule a call actually with an FDN course counselor. We'd be happy to talk to you. My virtual door is always open. I get a lot of Instagram messages. People want to know more about the course. And I truly love this stuff. So I'm happy to talk, share my experience and all of that as well. But you can go to functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com/counselor, or you can actually even go ahead and enroll in the course if you want at functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com/Facebook Live. But our door is always open. We're happy to help. We're not going to stop until we save the world and save the planet. But Piper, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'll look forward to seeing Texas tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see ya.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.